watching Gina Ahrens' channel, and it was all about inexpensive items that we use in our art that we can't live without. She challenged us to give her 10 inexpensive items that we use. I have a little bit more than 10 here, but I grouped them according to purpose, so I'm counting them as one. And since I went over here first, let's just get right to it. The first thing that I really use a lot, that I would really miss if I didn't have it, were free library books and free magazines that I get at the library. I don't buy these things, but the uses for them, I use painted papers, I cut out images, I get inspired by even the art in these books. And this is an older book. This book was falling apart when I got it, so I don't mind using it in any way that I can for my art. Magazines. Now, I happen to have the Midwest Living magazine because it was passed along to me, especially now that I'm doing glue books. Look at this. How cool is this shoe? That will go in a glue book. So, magazines and old books. Next, tools. I have to have a utility knife. I find that I use these a lot more than I do the X-Acto knives. I don't really need a lot of precision when I cut things, but I do need to like trim papers and that type of thing. And I think I paid $1.97 for this, and what I really like about it are the blades that can snap off, and you get to use that whole thing, and then the blades are replaceable. So I find this to be really useful. Scissors, I have to have scissors. By the way, I didn't buy these, I found them. Pliers. I didn't buy these pliers either, so they were inexpensive to me. They were they were acquired by me probably about 10 or 12 years ago by a mover who moved me from one location to another, and he moved on. I couldn't find him. I was going to return his pliers and I couldn't find him. So I kept them. I really like them. I find that they're very helpful to get caps off of watercolor bottles. If I have an item, even sometimes my markers. I don't know what it is with some of these markers, but I must be getting weak in the wrist or something. I'll use them to remove the cap off the markers. Not on this one. This one's good. And speaking of markers, I lump these all into one group too. I have to have a paintbrush of any size. This is an old one, but I still use it. I love it. I can't live without it. Pencil. I like these little cheap utility pencils. I like it that the lead just pops out. Sometimes I break that lead, but I don't like to sharpen pencils. It's not my favorite thing to do. My beloved R2 pens. I have to have my R2 pens. These are my go-to pen, especially if I'm doing tonal work. Markers. I just grabbed this Marks-A-Lot marker. I've had this. It goes and goes and goes. There's a lot of ink in it. I really like that the ink is permanent and you can edge. I use it to edge my paper. I use it to fill in spots that I miss if I'm journaling. So markers and pencils, I can't live without those, and paintbrushes. The other thing here too I grouped together, and that is thrift items. Little buttons and charms, and I don't even know what all is in here. This seems to be a zipper. It looks like there's a broken zipper in there. Cost me $1. And here's another one. It's just got all sorts of... Somebody cleaned their junk drawer. Oh, thrift store items. Can't live without them. I use them all the time. These I grouped together. Everybody has to have a composition book. This is one that I started writing letters in. And I think I wrote these letters last year. If I can find the date on one. I like to splash watercolor while I'm writing, September 2016. So, yes, you have to have a composition book. For planning, for junk journals, just for doodling, thousands of ways to use a composition book. $1 at the Dollar Tree, and along with that I put index cards. By the way, this did not cost me anything either. This is a found package that is never opened. Wax paper and or parchment paper. I get the cheapest brand I can at the dollar store. I really like it. I use it for different things. I just changed my drop paper to this newspaper, but usually prior to this I use wax paper as my drop paper. But I'm going to go to the newspaper now, so I guess you can count the newspaper as something I can't live without. And it's not costing me anything because I don't pay for the subscription and it gets recycled anyway. So this is going to be my drop paper. I like to use this too a lot as palette paper. I'll put my paint down on here. And I find that I like this just as much as I do an expensive craft mat. Because if I happen to goof and cut it, it's just a piece of paper. If I goof and cut a craft mat, I've destroyed a $17 piece of art supply. The other thing that I do with wax paper is, and I don't have it with me, but I like to make paper rolls. And I have a video where I made one. It's time for me to make one again. But I'll take paper, we'll just say this newspaper, and I'll paint it and stamp it and cut it to size, and then I'll tape several lengths together and roll it up on here, and I'll have all those painted papers and stamp designs and everything, and I'll put it in here, and I'll put it away, and sometime I'm getting out my art and I pull it out and I go, oh, that's cool, I'm going to use that. The only disadvantage of that is you can't see what's on the very inside of the roll, but I like to be surprised. The last thing, no, not the last, the second to last thing are these empty tea boxes. Love these empty tea boxes to hold things. I have to clean this one out yet. I just finished this one. But here you can see I made a little whatnot box out of an empty tea box. And this just holds all the little things that get scattered around my desk and annoy me. But if I put them in a box, then it's a treasure box to look through later on. So, empty tea boxes, something that I guess I could live without it, but I'd be disappointed. And the last thing is paper towel rolls. I think I should invest stock in the company that makes the cheapest kind I can find. Wipe up papers. I use them when I watercolor to clean my brushes. Just wipe my hands off on them. I use them when I'm doing glue books to wipe away the scrap glue. Just, you can't live without a paper roll. So, those are my 10 items grouped in groups by purpose. Those are the things that I find very inexpensive and very, very helpful when I'm doing my art. Love it. It's what makes art fun. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next page.